do not go gently into that. I'm trying to remember.
Good night.
I just had a little lapse of memory. Do not go gently into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. For someone with talent but with a wasted life, that might be good guidance. But friends of Linda, I can tell you, she went gently into that good night. And she had no cause to rage against the dying of the light. She died peacefully in her sleep at home. And I was able to say goodbye to her. I'm wearing kind of a sporty outfit today. I have a drab brown suit that I sometimes wear to funerals. But she loved this coat, and she loved this tie. And so Linda's controlling this, not tradition. When I first met her, we were freshmen in college, and she stood out in an unusual way. You know, those of us that are older remember that in grade school, one of the subjects that was taught was health. And in the health book, there was all kinds of great guidance for nutrition and exercise and whatever. And one of the things was always good posture, good posture. And they had pictures of people with good posture and people with bad posture. And when I saw Linda, I first saw her, before I even knew her, I thought, there goes somebody who could be a model for those pictures in that health book. Shoulders square, chin up, back straight. And I have to confess, I thought, you know, she looks a little snooty. How wrong I was about that. There never has been in my life a less snooty, uppity person than my Linda. Never. She was always gracious and humble and the most distant thing from snooty or arrogant or any of those bad characteristics. In that same year, before we ever dated, we were in a speech class together. And one of her classmates confided to me long after that, after we were married. She told me then, she said, I'm going to marry that man. So she's kind of prophetic too, wasn't she? I think she knew how to make that happen. And I'm so happy that she did. Linda held her head high, posturally. She also had high principles. I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the early days of our marriage. We moved to a little town in the Black Belt of Alabama during the late 60s, a period when a lot of unfortunate things were going on in this country. The civil rights struggle, the lynchings, the fire hoses and the police dogs. In that little town, a state trooper murdered, I use the word advisedly, he was 40 years later convicted, a young black man who was in a demonstration. And that event, more than any other event, triggered the famous march from Selma to Montgomery. The town was rife with racist strife. And then along came an opportunity. Linda was a member of the AAUW, University Women's Group. And there was organized in Marion, Alabama, Head Start program. In that rigidly segregated community, there was no way that any little white children were going to get the advantage of that. So this was seen as a federal, and that means bad to people in Perry County in 1968, a federal program for black people. And for a white lady, or white ladies, there were two of them, Linda and her friend, to be participants in that thing, carried with it a not insignificant element of risk, and she knew that. She did not hesitate. I'm going to do that because it's the right thing to do. There are about, she did it for 2 sessions, and there are something like 60 little black children in their 50s that I'm sure remember my Linda and her loving teaching of that little class. Linda believed in prayer. She believed in prayer about little things and about great things. And I just have to tell this story because it's so much Linda. This is one of the little things. I came home one afternoon and she says, I've got to tell you about this lizard. Linda loved turtles and frogs, but in the reptilian community, she was not fond of lizards or snakes, particularly if perchance one invaded the house. And she said, I was vacuuming in the den, and I saw this little lizard. And I didn't know what to do. I thought, maybe I could suck him up in the vacuum. And she said, I chased that little lizard, and I just couldn't catch him. So I opened the door, the sliding glass door. She said, I prayed, Lord, deliver me from this lizard. And she said, he did. The lizard ran out the door, and that door was slammed shut. Linda didn't move very fast a lot of times, but I'm sure she moved quickly and slammed that door. The Lord indeed delivered her from the menacing lizard. We still have those little lizards around the house, and I saw one the other day, and it just reminded me of that incident. Linda had a big family, as Charles said, and that was a close-knit family, still is, and they developed a custom starting when, Ken, in the 1970s, of deciding by some way, I've never figured out how they decided, but on some location in this country to go to and all swarm together there and have a big time together, they went to, I probably missed some of them. New Orleans was the first one, I think. They went to San Diego, the Wisconsin Dells, Williamsburg, Virginia, Denver, Colorado, Denver, Deadwood, South Dakota, Santa Fe, and the Tetons. Now, I may have missed one or two in there, but they just all came together and had a big time, and I enjoyed being with them on some of that. And Linda so enjoyed that. She put together a little scrapbook for each one, meticulously annotated, and we went through that, the girls and I did, and it brought back such great memories. She loved you here at Chisholm Hills. I think you know that. That goes without saying. She relished the opportunity to teach children, and she worked very hard preparing those lessons, and she put me to work helping her out. She wanted to teach about David and Goliath, and she said, I need a visual aid. Teachers are big on visual aids, aren't they? And so she got some brown paper like you use to wrap packages in, brown craft paper, butcher paper they call it. And she rolled that out and she said, I want to measure that, how long, the length of that has to be the height of Goliath, and you're going to draw Goliath on this paper. And so she wrote it out and marked the feet and the head. It was up to me to fill it in. And she made a little slingshot. And the ammunition was ping pong balls. And she took that to her class. And the little boys in their class, we hung it up. It reached all the way to the ceiling. I think the feet even bent over a little bit on the floor. And the little boys in that class got to be little David with his slingshot and see who could slay the giant. It was that kind of imagination that she brought to her teaching. But she mainly brought to her teaching, she brought love. She loved those children, everyone. And she has in recent years had some of those kids come back to her and tell her how much they remembered and how much they enjoyed her class. I prayed before I got up here that I could get through this. And I think my prayer was answered because in the last few days it's not been easy for me to get through a whole lot. When you walk around that house and you see so much that reminds you, it's hard. We made it, Linda. We'll get over it. I'll never forget it. Linda's brother, Kenneth, is here all the way from Ponte Vedra, Florida, and we're happy that he has decided to make a few remarks.